utero, the liver is the fastest growing and most crucial digestive organ. It plays a significant role in the umbilical metabolism. Unlike many of the organs in the lymphatic system, the liver continues to resound its importance in health throughout the end stages of life. The liver is almost always the largest organ in the body, sans early embryonic development and any impaired states. In adults, it accounts for 2 to 3% of the total body weight. The liver is a primary organ in the digestive system, but plays a secondary crucial role in the lymphatic system. It is dual innervated with nervous tissue deriving from the splachnic and vagus nerves, and receives efferent signals to help regulate blood flow, metabolic function, regeneration, bile secretion, and control circadian rhythm function. Located in the upper right quadrant of the abdomen, it is oblong and triangular in shape, consisting of 2 lobes with the smaller left lobe intersecting across in the upper left quadrant of the abdomen. It lies posterior to the ribcage, deep to the diaphragm, and superior and deep to the stomach. The whole organ is encapsulated by Glisson's capsule, a thin, dense layer of fibroelastic connective tissue holding the left and right lobes together as one. Just inferior to the Glisson's capsule is visceral layers of peritoneal mesothelium, intercavity epithelial tissues. The liver is held in place partially by pseudoligamentous attachments and a fibroareolar attachment to the diaphragm at the caudal end of the liver. The remnants of the fetal dependency on the umbilical-liver relationship are symbolized from the round, hollow false ligament, the round ligament towards the inferior portion of the liver, in the space separating left and right lobe. These lobes are divided by the falciform ligament, which runs superior to inferior, ending at the round ligament, composed of fibrous tissue connected anteriorly across the liver. The majority of the liver is woven together by possibly trillions of hepatocytes. Hepatocytes are polygonal with sides of the cells interfacing with other hepatocytes, the sinusoids or bile caniculae. The hepatocytes contain typically one nuclei, but numerous Golgi bodies and rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The abundance of these organelles and their function in lipid and protein manufacturing and processing enhances the liver's multifaceted role in protein and lipid breakdown, restructuring, and synthesis. The hepatocytes form long chains of cells called hepatic cords, which further connect to the hepatic sinusoids in larger interconnected patterns to form a liver lobule. The lobules are intersected at patterned junctions of vascular vessels and bile ducts called the portal triad. The portal triad consists of the branch of the bile duct, branch of the hepatic portal vein, and branch of the hepatic artery. A round to oblong-shaped vein encompasses the middle of the lobule, the central vein. Connective tissue joins each lobule to one another in a beehive pattern of interconnected hexagonal shapes. You can imagine just how vascular the liver is, considering that each lobule contains at least 2 veins, and each liver contains around 1 million lobules. The venous system connects to the larger posteriorly positioned hepatic artery and hepatic portal vein, receiving 2 sources of the blood to this organ, making it extremely blood-rich. The hepatic artery enters the liver and the hepatic hilum from the celiac trunk to bring oxygen-rich blood to the liver and the hepatic vein. And the hepatic vein carries blood from the spleen, gastrointestinal tract, and pancreas to deliver nutrients to the liver. Channels composed of the left, right, and middle hepatic veins receive blood from the smaller vessels and capillary networks in the liver back to the inferior vena cava for transfer back to the heart. These blood supplies enter the liver posteriorly at the junction between the left and right lobes of the liver. And hopefully begin to see how the liver relies on the digestive and cardiovascular systems, but the liver also helps to support these systems immensely. The network of blood vessels also is triangulated with networks of bile ducts, where bile made in the liver travels from the liver to the gallbladder. Bile is needed to break down lipids, so without this organ we would have no way to properly digest the precious fats our body relies on to make healthy cells and other tissues. It also supports the breakdown of proteins through lipoprotein production and produces and stores glycogen. This is what makes the liver a chief organ in the digestive system. It also operates as an immense blood cleansing organ as its primary role to receive the blood from the digestive system, filter out toxins, and return the filtered waste back to the digestive tract via bile and blood vessels to be passed through fecal transport. So what makes the liver also an accessory organ to the lymphatic system? For starters, up to about half of all lymph in the body is created by the liver at any given time. Let me repeat, up to half of all the lymph in the body is produced by the liver. Why is it that science is not caught up to our large friend, the liver? Okay, so apart from being vastly misunderstood and understudied in this relationship, in fact, it wasn't until the mid-90s when researchers started to identify the relationship between the lymphatics and the liver, we are only beginning to hone in on the importance of the liver as a lymphatic organ, making this one well-rounded, multifaceted organ. The sinusoids in between the million or so lobules is believed to be the origin of our liver lymph, a small, heavily lymph-populated space bilaterally between the sinusoids and lobules exists called the space of Dissay. Lymph flows from the space into the perilobular space or space of Moll, centrally situated around our hepatic triad, which then is collected by small lymph capillaries. We can start to see the enormity of lymphoid tissue presence in this large organ. These sinusoid junctions represent interstitial gaps between the lobules, rich in lymphocytes and specialized liver macrophages, Kupffer cells. The Kupffer cells perform phagocytic actions in pathogens, but also help to break down old red blood cells into functional components, like iron, to be stored and used later, and waste products to be transported out of the body. Lymph from the liver is additionally flowed back into the larger lymphatic network via portal, sublobular, and capsular lymph vessels through the same pathway of valve-ridden vessels up to the thoracic ducts. Given the role the liver plays in detoxing the body, we can understand how it is recurrently exposed to harmful chemicals and pathogens that could disrupt its function. Heavy chemical exposures to the liver can lead to dysfunction in the capacity to filter out toxins. This decreased capacity can lead to a buildup of fats in the liver, increasing the burden on the liver and decreasing its function. This is classified as fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It is the most common type of liver disease and is believed to affect a quarter of American adults. A high presence of fat in the liver can ultimately lead to inflammation, which can induce scarring. If left to advance, this scarring can lead to liver cirrhosis. A significant amount of natural lifestyle adaptations are believed to not only stop progressive symptoms of fatty liver disease, but also possibly reverse damage if treated early enough. The problem being early detection, which is not often the case as fatty liver diseases in early stages present as other common maladies. Plant-based diets, alcohol reduction, and in particular binge drinking avoidance, and 90-plus minutes of moderate exercise 3 times a week have been methods of improving liver function. The American lifestyle not only increases the risk of fatty liver diseases, but actually promotes the very things that pose such a detriment to our lives. We worship sedentary meat and booze-laden lifestyles and happily sell our bodies to these trillion-dollar industries under delusion of comfort, convenience, and entertainment. We then double down on exorbitant medical costs to fix the problem our lifestyles created. It is not to say that we do so with informed consent, however. Many people worldwide have no idea of the ramifications of a few beers a night or a diet of high meat, fast food, or sugar, and how these compounding lifestyle comforts can land your name on an organ transplant list. Or even worse, your children who often suffer the disadvantages of modeled behavior. The recent lawsuit tied to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease against the recently Bayer-acquired company Monsanto can highlight the lack of informed consent happening across the world in liver and broad-spectrum health. The Roundup pesticide with high concentrations of glyphosate has long been under scrutiny for possible adverse side effects linked to it, but recent studies conducted have consecutively supported the adverse effects of glyphosate on the liver, especially in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, but additionally in liver cancers. This can be extremely disconcerting given the prevalence of glyphosates used in farming techniques. But rest easy, my dear friends. Bayer's pharmaceutical Stivarga has just been approved as a treatment for hepatic cancers. Hepatitis is characterized by inflammation in the liver. Hepatitis conditions in the liver are mostly virally transmitted diseases. These can be denoted by suffixes with letter classifications. Other hepatitis infections can be contracted through alcohol abuse or autoimmune conditions. Viral infections of the liver are surprisingly common as well. Hepatitis B or C are believed to present in as many as 1 in 3 people worldwide and account for an average of 1.5 million deaths a year. The viruses often can go unnoticed and lie dormant, but simple blood tests can diagnose infected patients. Hepatitis B is contracted through coming into contact with the hepatitis B virus, or HBV, carrying bodily fluids. This can be through infected needles in reproductive fluids and passed by mother to baby in utero. Hepatitis B is less aggressive for adult contracted than infancy contracted HBV. This has been a motivating force for more widespread deployment of the hepatitis B vaccine. This vaccine has come under a lot of scrutiny due primarily to the misunderstood prevalence and nature of the hepatitis B virus. Many people cling to the sexual transmissibility of HBV and believe that there would be no reason for infants to have this vaccine, when in reality the prevalence of HBV and its underdiagnosis can pose increased risk to those more susceptible, such as infants and adolescents. The long-term complications of HBV. In many adults, HBV can resolve naturally, especially with a healthy liver regimen mentioned early, but the resolution can be unreliable given its sporadic occurrence and much less likely to resolve for patients who contracted in early years of life. The hepatitis C virus is similarly contracted through blood transmissions. The association to drug use is from the higher potential of unsterilized equipment being shared to transmit blood from infected patients to others. But hepatitis C can and has been transmitted through transplants, transfusions, and improper sterilization of medical and non-medical instruments. Antiviral medications have shown improved rates at treating hepatitis C, which have steadily advanced in HCV-targeted responses and delicacy to the host body. Early treatments of interferon injections ranged in harmful side effects and experienced half the success at sometimes 4 times the rate as the now commonly used direct-acting antivirals prescribed for hepatitis C today. New antiviral medications have been developed to specifically target the hepatitis C virus on the genome level, but the prices of these life-saving drugs are still at an exorbitant minimum of $400 a day on a regimen of minimum 2 months, making it still an impossible financial burden for many with hepatitis C. Silymarin, derived from milk thistle, a common herbal flower, is believed to promote healthy liver function, though its role has been understudied and sometimes in conflicting trials. The observable features a few studies have noted of Silymarin's ability to be a hepatotoxin binding inhibitor, which prevents toxins from binding to hepatocyte surface. Other less researched claims include hepatocyte membrane stabilization, liver oxidation reduction, and increased protein synthesis. Also, if found to be supported by Silymarin, would undoubtedly aid in liver health. Bioavailability is limited in Silymarin as it has hydrophobic properties, but pharmacological derivatives from Silymarin have isolated silibinin from the milk thistle plant and used for hepatic inflammatory conditions and have even begun clinical trials in liver cancer studies. Other studies have observed an increased bioavailability when taken in conjunction with liposomes, but even better bioavailability seems to be in combining proliposomes with the medicinal qualities of the milk thistle to instigate a self-created liposome suspension. Our liver, like every part of the body, relies on vitamins and minerals to promote health. Numerous studies have been linked to vitamin deficiencies in liver diseases. Undoubtedly, there may be some dual metabolic impairment from deficiencies in liver diseases where liver diseases impede the gastrointestinal ability to break down the necessary nutrients, and nutritional deficiencies impair the function of the liver. Of notable significance for liver health are B vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin E, and the mineral iron, where B vitamin deficiencies is high in those with liver diseases. An important trend should be noted in many of these studies in which alcoholics with cofactors of malnourishment are largely represented in these studies, and many of the studies have been underrepresented in the past 20 years. Where iron is an essential mineral for hemoglobin production and can understandably impact the liver's function, given its role in filtration. Vitamin E is a cofactor for iron absorption, meaning if your blood suffers from iron anemia, you might have a vitamin E deficiency instead of or in tandem. Most incredible deficiency, in my opinion, comes from vitamin D deficiencies, which have about a 92% occurrence in cholestatic liver cancer. Now, especially those with liver diseases, hepatic toxicity is a possible danger, even in taking natural and botanical supplements, minerals, and vitamins. Not all vitamins will simply flush out of your system, as they may be fat-soluble vitamins, which are stored in fat, and especially to note the liver. This would increase liver risks of liver injury from vitamin overdoses. In addition, not all supplements are created equally. The largely unregulated market is beneficial as it makes over-the-counter treatments more available, but also poses the risk of looser restrictions on chemical compositions, additives, and fillers in vitamins. Bioavailability also could be compromised, or medicinal properties of the supplements not even used. Supplement management and lifestyle changes should always be under the supervision of a medical provider, and liver disease care should especially be under medical supervision. When you think of all the things we have discussed about the liver's role in blood, system detoxification, metabolism, and lymphoid tissue, it is incredibly understandable that many dysfunctions will present themselves in the liver. It just must also be understood that lifestyles contribute a great deal of healing or progression through liver disease. When homeostatic conditions are created and maintained, the liver does a phenomenal job at healing itself. Its regenerative nature can become a problem, however, which can increase the risk of cirrhosis, further increasing the risk of liver cancers and/or hepatic failure. The vessel systems of the liver, blood, lymph, and bile are all susceptible to inflammation of the liver. Where vessel flow can become compromised, cytokine pro-inflammatory reactions are common in the liver, given its abundance of cytokine cells, but also poses the risk of inflammation becoming a burden to this organ. Without optimal liver function, we are compromising our digestive system as well as our lymphatic system. If nearly half of all of our lymph is derived from the liver, what happens when the hepatic lymphoid vessels become dysfunctional? How does the body receive its adequate immune responses from our lymph system? Reducing dietary sugars, red meat intake, exposure to xenochemicals, increased plant-based diets, and getting moving contributes not only to a healthier liver, but is what the lymphatic system relies on. I believe the secret to understanding the lymphatic system lies in large to better understanding the relationship between the liver and lymphatics. I also believe that creating a regimen for lymphatic organs depends on the recommended model for increasing liver health.